Here tonight at 11 o'clock, a total of 5 people are recovering, with 2 of them in serious condition, a mother and her young child, after a car hits an Amish buggy from behind. Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Proffitt. The woman and her 3 children were flown here to Louisville for treatment. It happened in Breckinridge County, Kentucky. That's over an hour to our west. State police say the driver rear-ended the buggy near the McDaniels community Thursday afternoon. WHAS11 night team's Jose Alonso and photojournalist Aspen Hester spoke with a grocery store owner tonight who says she's praying for the family's recovery.
We're at the 14,000 block of KY 259 in Breckinridge County, where Kentucky State Police say a 55-year-old woman rear-ended an Amish buggy. We didn't find any remains of the buggy or vehicle that hit it, but there are several caution signs all up and down Highway 259 warning drivers about the slow-moving carriages.
Oh, yes, it is a safe road in my opinion.
The news of the collision reached the other side of the county near the Ohio River. In Stevensport, the owner of Country Corner Market, Esther Beachy, says she's seen buggies like these stop by her shop all the time.
They moved here from Indiana about 3 to 4 years ago. They have a fair, nice amount of families and also have their own school, like we have our own school. We're Mennonite. I want to pray for them that God would heal them according to His will. And I certainly care about them.
KSP identified the woman in the buggy as 33-year-old Elsie Girod and confirmed everyone except the driver was flown to Louisville. U of L Health says she and one of the children suffered life-threatening injuries. Police say the crash happened around 3:15 Thursday afternoon near the McDaniels community. According to police, 55-year-old Brenda Aubrey rear-ended the buggy. The other 2 children were discharged.
I am hopeful, specifically Elsie. The baby might be just in a little worse shape yet, but hopefully it will pull through.
The next time you're driving through rural Kentucky and see signs like these, please take caution. In Breckinridge County, Jose Alonso, WHAS 11 night team on your side.
The driver of the car was taken to Breckinridge Memorial Hospital to be treated and is expected to survive her injuries. We also checked with U of L Hospital again tonight. They had no new update for us. Elsie Girod and her child are in serious condition with life-threatening injuries. St. Matthews police are investigating after a deadly hit and run. It all started after a fight among friends that began in downtown Louisville, ended with one man being hit and killed on I-64 in the East End. Chief Barry Wilkerson says it happened last Saturday at about 11:30 p.m. on I-64 East between Cannons Lane and the Breckinridge Lane overpass. This is not far from Bowman Field. The victim's been identified as 46-year-old Anthony Welch. This afternoon, the chief talked about what police know to the moment.
We know there was an altercation that took place downtown with the individuals that were in this car. They decided to go back home, so they all got into the vehicle. We're riding back eastbound in that area. Another altercation took place, and at that point he did exit the vehicle and they left him there at that point. We know a short time later is when the incident, the fatal incident occurred.
Chief Wilkerson said the initial altercation happened downtown near 5th and Chestnut. He also said it's a possibility Welch was then hit by a semi-truck driver who didn't see Welch because it was so dark on the interstate. Anyone with information is asked to call the St. Matthews Police Tip Line, 502-893-9000. Again, that's 502-893-9000. Right here, new tonight at 11 o'clock, a protective order has been filed against the former Kentucky governor, Matt Bevin, by his adopted son named Jonah Bevin. A judge in Louisville granted the protective order today, according to new court documents. Bevin has also been ordered to surrender his guns to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. According to a GoFundMe account set up by an attorney representing Jonah, the adopted son of Bevin faced extreme abuse and neglect at an academy in Jamaica. When that academy was shut down, the attorney says Jonah Bevin was never picked up by the Bevins. When Jonah returned to the United States, the GoFundMe says he was left without stable housing or transportation to work to support himself. The former governor is expected in Jefferson County courtroom coming up on March 19th. Tonight, we're reporting more on what set off the indictments against the well-known longtime Nelson County sheriff and a deputy. It's all coming from a whistleblower lawsuit filed by the detectives in the Nelson County Sheriff's Office. WHAS11 Night Team's Clarice Shaley tonight interviewed the well-known Louisville attorney representing the whistleblowers.
There are all kinds of minefields out there in the situation they have gotten into through no fault of their own.
Thomas Clay is representing two whistleblowers in a lawsuit against Nelson County Sheriff Ramon Pinaroa. He has been indicted on felony charges including abuse of public trust, theft by deception, official misconduct, among others. His chief deputy, Brandon Bryan, faces similar charges along with forgery.
I thought there ought to be consequences for it.
The whistleblowers are detectives with the Sheriff's Department, and they say Chief Deputy Bryan allegedly sold cars seized to a friend, and when they told Sheriff Pinaroa, they were retaliated against in many ways, like cutting their hours. These detectives continue to work alongside Sheriff Pinaroa with both criminal and civil cases pending.
They were apprehensive that they were going to get fired and not have any income. And without this income from the Sheriff's Department, it would have put them in a very bad position.
In a statement from attorneys for the Sheriff's Department in the lawsuit, they denied that the department retaliates against employees for good faith reports. Both legal representation for Pinaroa and Bryan's criminal cases deny wrongdoing as well. Pinaroa's attorney, Louisville's Steve Romines, says his client, quote, followed all processes appropriately and every dollar can be traced to the benefit of the citizens of the county. And Bryan's attorney says, quote, the evidence in this case will show that he has always upheld his duties to the department and citizens of the county. While the case is pending,
They want to be vindicated. For people to understand they did the right thing by cooperating with this investigation by Kentucky State Police.
Clay plans to fight for the reimbursement of lost wages for his clients. In Bardstown, Clarice Shaley, WHAS 11 Night Team, on your side.
With both criminal and civil cases now pending, T. Clay says the lawsuit won't be seen until the criminal case is finalized. Pinaroa and Bryan's arraignment is coming up on March 20th. Today, for the first time in more than a decade, a death row inmate has died by firing squad. It comes after the South Carolina Supreme Court cleared the way for Brad Sigmund's execution after his latest appeal was denied. The 67-year-old was sentenced to death for the double murder of his ex-girlfriend's parents and chose to die by firing squad instead of the electric chair or lethal injection. Since 1977, only 3 executions by firing squad have been carried out in the United States. A hood is placed over the prisoner's head, and several corrections officers fire their rifles from 15 feet away. Viewers describing the scene as it happened in the state capital of Columbia.
When the shots were fired, it was very loud. It was very jarring and very as you can imagine shots would be. At that point, I think pretty much everybody in the room flinched.
Only these 5 states on this map allow the procedure, with Idaho just this week moving one step closer to making it the primary execution method. Kentucky and Indiana only allow lethal injection as the sole method. However, Kentucky's death penalty has been stayed since 2020, and Attorney General Russell Coleman has petitioned a court to lift that stay. Kentuckiana farmers are expressing concern over President Donald Trump's threats of new tariffs, the whiplash forcing many farmers to make adjustments to plans, including one of the primary Kentucky corn producers for Louisville's own Brown-Forman. In Shelby County, the Langley brothers, Bruce and Christopher, help lead the family business. But now, with Canada pulling American whiskey from shelves, they're having to adapt and overcome.
If we see a decline in the bourbon market, well, then we can switch to a conventional or a traded corn, which would be corn that we don't use for bourbon, and it'd be more suited for livestock production. I think our president, you know, he's a businessman at heart, and he has the best for our country in mind.
The Langleys have been producing grains like non-GMO corn, soybeans, and tobacco since 1989, and they told us they are still confident in President Trump's tariff plan. Growing opposition in Louisville to a Kentucky bill that would ban DEI in higher education. House Bill number 4 seeks to eliminate all DEI officer positions and end DEI training sessions. Representative Jennifer Decker of Shelbyville sponsored the legislation. She argues these initiatives hinder diversity and go against the purpose of higher education. However, the Louisville NAACP argues that DEI helps students who would otherwise be overlooked.
What you're proposing is to move backwards. When I said that in all of the bills, including those at the national level, there is not one single thing of educational value that has been shown or proven in terms of what takes place.
Historically, America has striven for equal opportunity, not subjective equity, which DEI now pursues through discriminatory admissions, hiring, and scholarship.
House Bill 4 is now on its way to the Senate. DEI is also being debated on the federal level. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to end federal support for DEI programs. It was later blocked by a federal judge. In the aftermath of the theft scandal involving the former Clark County, Indiana Sheriff Jamie Knoll, Indiana lawmakers continue to advance a bill to increase oversight over jail funds. Knoll is currently serving 15 years for stealing taxpayer dollars provided to New Chapel EMS by Clark and Floyd counties. He's also being sued by the state for his use of jail funds from 2015 to 2022. House Bill 1208 in Indianapolis would create training requirements for sheriffs responsible for their county's funds. They would also be required to report receipts and disbursements from the fund at least 4 times a year.
We've also gone as far as creating a partnership with State Board of Accounts. For example, last week at our winter conference and all of our conference going forward, they have committed to having designated people at our conference. So when our sheriffs come in, they're available for questions or anything they want to ask them, and it has to do with their bookkeeping. So, we're trying to be very transparent